Back on the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Szymanski, and let me tell you, as an interviewer, someone who has researched the Illuminati for a long time. It started way back when I was a young reporter in Rome. It's a whole different ballgame when you're actually talking to someone with experiences like this. It takes it out of that realm of what is quasi-fiction fact into the realm of reality, and it's really shocking. And I'll be honest with you, this is a story that, folks, you have to listen to, because this is going on in our country. All the things you're seeing regarding our rights being taken away, the police state, the war in Iraq, 9/11, all these things have to do with this powerful group. And Svali, we're talking about mid-level people, then we're going to talk about some of the lower-level people. I'm interested who they are. But I imagine a lot of these, you said they weren't happy, but a lot of them probably stay because it's it's a very very lucrative way to live. I imagine you from wealthy families.
Oh, yeah. In fact, and that's the main thing, that's one of the factors that keeps people in. The reason more people don't leave is because leaving means giving up your husband, your children, your entire family on both sides, your money, and basically for a lot of people leaving the group, it means giving up everything and starting out penniless and alone. And not only that, but then you're combating internal programming to recontact, to go back, to be loyal, to be a good member. And I've known many people that tried to leave and went back because they just couldn't take it.
Do you want to take a phone call right now to break it up?
Sure.
Okay, Marilyn in California. You're on the Investigative Journal, Marilyn.
Yes, I've been just sort of caught part of this. I lost part of it. I'm listening on the Internet, but I didn't quite catch it. How did this woman become involved in this Illuminati training?
Go ahead. Can you explain that, Svali?
Yeah, I was taught it from early childhood. I was mentored into it. Trainers in the group are mentored. You work with older adults, and they show you, and you are given increasing responsibility until by the time you're in your teens, you are basically doing adult training responsibilities. You've been taught for years.
Parents put you in it, or?
Yes, they were members.
Oh, I see. So it comes down through one parent to another.
Or from both.
Are they private schools?
Do what?
Are these private schools?
Well, when my children were schooled at private Christian schools, they were all Illuminati.
Oh, you're saying that the Christian schools are Illuminati?
Some of them are. Not all, but some. No, no. The ones that my children were in were specifically. But no, there's a lot of good Christian schools that have nothing to do with the group, but some can be. Now, I went to a public school, but what's interesting is out of 3 public schools I went to as a young child, 2 have burned down. So there's no access to any school records.
I'll be darned.
Marilyn, just to get you up to speed, you're born into this, then you're trained as a young child. You go through an induction ceremony in the Vatican, and this is going on with 1% to 2% of our population, according to Svali. Very serious in all levels, government and everything else. Go ahead, Marilyn. You have another question?
Yeah, when you say the Vatican, now that is not a Christian religion. Okay, so I mean, I'm a Christian. But we do not look at Catholics as a Christian religion. We look at them as the precursor of the New World religion. So
if I may just break in, I grew up a Catholic. I don't get involved in the splicing of the religions. I'm basically stating that when I started researching the Illuminati as a reporter in Rome, and I realized there was a bad portion of the church, I looked at it. I had to deal with the evil and the good. And so that's the way I reconciled it, the evil within the Catholic Church at the high level of the Vatican, which seeps down into many, many areas. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I won't argue that point. I don't agree with it, but it sounds like you have become possibly born again to get out of this. Could I be correct in that?
Yes, Marilyn, very much. Now, first, I do want to say I am not slamming the Catholic Church or the average Catholic. I have many good friends that are Catholics, that are strong Christians. I became a Christian, and that's the only way I could get out. But just so you know, though, too, a lot of card-carrying Illuminists, well, we don't really carry cards, but I'm using that term.
Yes.
Are members of the Baptist Church, are members of Pentecostal churches. In fact, I was on the worship team for a Wesleyan church in San Diego in my day life. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just very, very confused. I mean, I think this is interesting, and as far, many people say that the Catholic Church will be the forerunner of the new world religion. There's some very good books out. In fact, I think you may have interviewed one of these men, the Grand Plan designed by John Daniel.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Sure.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
The average Catholic has no idea of what's going on in the Vatican.
Yeah. I think that's interesting that the average Catholic would not go what's going on. That's just my take on it.
Well, I'll tell you something. As an average Catholic going to Rome, my first time in 1980, I didn't know what was going on, and I grew up as a Catholic, went to Notre Dame High School. It was quite a learning experience for me.
Why do Catholics, when they find out how evil the church is, stay in it? I mean, do they really? Why would they want to stay in it? That's what bothers me. I know some good people that are like that, and I don't get it.
Well, that the only answer there's I don't know. I mean, there are many Catholics that aren't actively practicing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll leave that for another time. Thanks a lot, Marilyn. We'll be back on the Investigative Journal in 3 minutes with Svali. Okay, they're not going to get me, that's for sure. My house is anti-illuminated. It's not going to happen, folks. And, just to end that, Svali, before I get back to you, just to end that conversation we had with Marilyn about Catholicism, I look back and I really thank my dad. And I do it in kind of a way, I'm just thinking about it now. I didn't know what the church was about, but, something strange did happen when I was young. My mom died, and I was 10 years old. My brother was 6 months old at the time. She died of leukemia. It was a very, very tragic affair. It left my dad and me and my brother alone. And I remember my dad literally took a priest, a head Monsignor in our parish, and it was, I won't even tell you where, St. John Brebeuf, right outside of Chicago. And this man came into our house, I'll never forget it, and said that he was going to put me and my little brother in an orphanage. And my dad literally picked him up and threw him out the door, literally. And from that point on, my dad never went back to church again. My brother never went to a Catholic school. I, of course, asked if I could finish only because I had friends there. But, who knows what would have happened, looking back on what's the craziness that goes on in the church. But anyways, while you were talking about, something, these people that do not want to get out because of the financial ties. But let's go back when you were in the Illuminati, and how did this happen? How did you finally leave? And tell us this whole story about you leaving the Illuminati. We haven't touched on that yet.
Sure. Well, I do want to say one thing that I agreed with Marilyn on. Without faith in God, I couldn't have done it, because I became a Christian, and that was for me revolutionary, because it made me question again more of what I was being taught or had believed all my life. I began to realize that what I was doing was wrong. I became increasingly cynical. And I also then started standing up to the head trainer in the county who despised me, because he would do things that were just blatantly cruel for no reason whatsoever. I'd say, you're wrong. Well, people don't like that. And he took it out on me in a lot of horrible ways. I finally made the decision to run. I ran to another state, because I knew that my chances of getting out while still staying in that area with people I knew, surrounded by people who were in the group, was not going to be very good. So I went to another state.
You had to leave your family and everything, right?
Everything. Well, my children were with their grandparents, and at that point I thought that was better than them being with my husband. And I was going to go get my kids. But my husband then called, and he said, I want to reunite with you. And I said, okay, that's wonderful. And I said, but you have to get help. You have to get some treatment, because we can't go on. You've got to get out of the group. And he said, okay. He said, I'll pick up the kids and meet you in a week. So, the day before he called, said, I'll be there tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And so I was excited, thinking, oh, he's getting out. He's getting out. That's wonderful. Instead, he had gotten the kids several days before. He was lying to me. I didn't know it. I'd gone to a judge, and the day that he was supposed to arrive, there was a knock on my door. It was the policeman serving me divorce papers, and also a restraining order saying that I could not come within 100 yards of my husband or my children. And at that point, I felt slightly punished for leaving the group. I fought that, and I fought for 4 years with a court system that said that things like this didn't occur because my husband would go into court and say, this woman's psychotic. She's making it all up. There's no way. Ha, ha, ha. This stuff doesn't happen this day and age. And the judge would say, you're right, slam. Full custody to the father. And I had to have supervised visitation for 4 years with my own children because I was considered kidnap risk. But through a lot of prayer, I had my whole church praying for me here in Texas. And through what I believe are a series of miracles, my children were finally allowed unsupervised visitation with me after 4 years. And during that time, I said to my daughter, who was 14, I said, I want so badly for you to get out. And she looks at me and she starts going, oh, you shouldn't have said that, Mom. You shouldn't have said that, Mom. She just freaked out. She just totally lost it. And I realized it was her programming cycling because she was just terrified. She was like, why'd you say that? And I said, it's okay, honey, calm down. And then finally, she was just shaking. And then finally she said, well, I don't want to go back and get hurt. And then I said, you don't have to. And at that point, I faced federal prison, but I called my ex and I said, I will not let those children go back and get hurt again. And he flew out to get them. And he could have put me in prison at the time because I was breaking the custody visitation. And you know how strong the courts are on that? Mm-hmm. And I said to him, please, because my daughter and son said, we don't want to go back, Dad. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to do this anymore. And he looked at them and he said, I want to go think about it. And so he went home. And I was praying for him at the time. And then that night he called me and he says, oh, my God. And I said, wait, he said, we've got to get out. And I'm like, yes, you do. And and then he said, and then he made the decision to get out. At that point, he went to a notary public. He gave me, and he did a legal document, gave me full custody of my children. And then he said he was so sorry for it. He put me through the HELL. He put me through for years.
Now, have you had any reprisals from anybody in the group since you leaving, or any warnings to be quiet or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and there's one time when I did write one article that named some specific dates and times, and I got hurt afterwards, and it made me very cautious. And that's why I don't give a lot of radio interviews, and why I don't do a lot of this. That's one reason why.
I appreciate this because, the number of people you're going to help by maybe waking up the American people, what's really going on. Sometimes it's you can wake up many more people by a person like you than talking about 100 million different generalities. Let me take a call. Chris in Washington, you're on the Investigative Journal.
Hi. Svali, I just want to say how much I appreciate your bravery in presenting this information in the way that you are. I've read your website recently. And my question is very simple. Based on the information that you're presenting, I'm wondering what timeline the organization of the larger family that you're describing has for implementing the New World Order.
Okay. I was told it would occur during my generation. I was told that by the year 2050 that they would be revealed. Now, again, their timelines change, though. In fact, I think jokingly referred to them as being like the Soviet Union because, how they had their 5- and 10-year plans and then things always got changed. In my own lifetime, I saw several different timelines for things that were supposed to occur change. But as Greg noted, I've also heard of from different people that actually there's a huge push in the last few years. It's like, it's close, let's make things happen more quickly. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't begin to guess whether that's an accurate timeline or not. I know what I was told.
I have a follow-up question, and that's it, and this will be it for me.